Hey dears, December is here, so I have some bone-chilling horror thrillers to talk about. And at first it wasn't intentional, but I was coming up with a list of wintry horror recommendations. And it turns out all of them are kind of like survival thriller creature features, because that's apparently what I gravitate towards. So if that's what you're like, or if you're curious about reading that little niche, then bundle up. The first book I want to talk about is actually one that I just finished yesterday, and I have so many thoughts on it. It is a journey, it is a ride, and I am talking about The Terror by Dan Simmons. And I'm proud of myself for finishing this, first of all, because I was in a reading slump for like a year. I couldn't focus or finish like any book. And I finished this, how long is it? It's like, oh my lord. So it's about almost 800 pages. And that's what I used to be able to do. And I conquered this book. It's like you're going on a journey with these men. And I suppose I should actually give you a little summary of what it's about. It's based actually off of a true story of the Franklin expedition from 1845. I'm bad at dates, so 1845. There were two ships that went out to try to find this North Passage through Antarctica. Only the ice isn't thawing, and the men are dealing with scurvy, and their food is spoiling, and they have to start facing difficult choices. And on top of the natural elements and all that, and the men getting cabin fever and paranoia, there's also this creature that appears to be stalking them and hunting them down one by one. But I think the most disturbing thing about this book is how realistic it feels. Like, the author really did his research, and it's like you can feel the men's desperation and hunger. And it's not the monster that I found the scariest part of the book. Like, for the monster's appearances, I was like, oh, poggers, that's so cool, that's gnarly, yeah. But for some of the surgery scenes, they were the most disgusting surgery scenes I have ever read in a book. I think partly because medical technology wasn't like it used to be, and they're running out of medicine, so ouchies. And I have huge medical phobia to begin with, and reading this, I was, it honestly really disturbed me. A heads up though for the not so great part, the pacing. This is a slow burn. I don't know if it's like a metaphor that the pacing is glacial, pun, but by the final third of it, it really picks up and it's gripping, and I was just I felt numb and in shock. I was like, oh my god, because you're watching the physical and mental deterioration of these men, and it's like you're going along with them on this several year journey, and yeah, it's an experience. Okay, moving on to older reads of mine that I recommend if you have an itch to read some survival thriller creature features, starting with At the Mountains of Madness, one of the Antarctic expedition teams gone wrong story to start it all. It's about a research team who unearth something that might be out of this world, and what can possibly go wrong? What can go wrong? Read and find out. But if you kind of the movie Alien or The Thing, which The Thing is probably what I'll bring up next, I think you'll enjoy At the Mountains of Madness. I don't know if you want to call it a short story or a novella. You can read it in its original prose in a collection. There's also an excellent manga adaptation, and possibly down the road by Guillermo del Toro. He might do for Netflix. He already has a script of at the Mountains of Madness, and I'd love to see that film adaptation or mini-series or whatever you want to do with that so badly. Yes. Okay, next we have John Carpenter's The Thing, which follows, again, a research team in Antarctica that finds themselves hunted down by a shape-shifting alien that can take on the shape of anything it absorbs the DNA of, and there's like paranoia, and the team is questioning themselves like, are you an alien? Are you an alien? Because like the alien can change shape. So there's like really cool psychological and body horror going on in this movie, and it's a classic. You should watch it. Next we have Near the Bone by Christina Henry, and this one is kind of part survival thriller, part domestic thriller. You have the human threat and the monster threat at the same time. This story follows Maddie, who's dealing with her hyper-controlling husband who won't even let her read books, but they have like their own isolated cabin in the log woods, and like no one is around really to help them. And the husband like decides that there's this demon outside that he just has to hunt, and he ends up pissing that monster off. So Maddie has to deal with both her stupid husband and trying to survive the monster. And both of them are their own kind of monster. And yeah, this is like a really fun thriller. I will say though, I feel like the end wrapped up a little bit too quickly, but it's still worth a read. Okay, last but not least, I have The Ritual, and for this one I'm only talking about the movie because I have not read the book it is based on. But the story follows this group of men who are trying to honor the recent death of one of their friends. So they take like this meditative trip to Sweden, and one of the men like gets an injured knee. So they try to take a shortcut, only they end up getting lost in the woods, and they start to see like these animal carcasses that look like they're kind of ritualistically disemboweled, and they're seeing these weird symbols, and they keep like repeating the same area of the woods, and they're kind of stuck there, and they're freaking out, and also they think something might be stalking them and hunting them down. Yeah, I would say this is definitely an introspective movie. Plus, it has some of the coolest monster design I have ever seen in a film. Like, when I saw the monster, I was like, ah, that's disturbing, but it's so cool at the same time. It's like I have to appreciate the concept design of it. And yeah, I definitely recommend this one. All right, that's a wrap. Those are my survival thriller creature features that I recommend you watch or read. And if you have any other winter horror, it doesn't have to necessarily be the specific niche I talked about earlier, but if you have any winter horror or thrillers that you recommend, let me know down in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side. See ya!